And staying with the technology stream, I read a quote which is attributed to you, saying, "Our society is rapidly moving towards using cutting-edge technology, and more people are getting access to the internet year on year. Kekana believes that rural South Africans should have access to 21st century communications to run their businesses, complete their studies, and connect with family and friends." So if you could share a few of your thoughts, because the reality is that we're in our 21st century has been transformed by technology. If you could give us some insight in terms of the education aspects that you are partly implementing. We were talking earlier about kids being able to access and start to use tablets and other devices in their learning, because when they get into the real world, it's not a blackboard with a piece of chalk.
In fact, Doctor, let's start with education. Before me and you, and I'm not exposing our age, me and you.
Thank you.
It was typing during schooling. There was a class that would do typing, and then later on it was computer literacy. And currently, what we think we should now look at school level, because technology is also advancing. And if you look at the current form of employment, whether you go to the mining sector or you go to industries, you now are going to have artificial these technologies,
AI, artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence, you're going to have robots, you're going to have all these things. And it also says the rudimentary way of doing mining is gradually going to be replaced, because currently, I mean, if we look at the South African situation, you had many people dying, a number of people, some challenges of people having accidents underground.
And if you think there's physiological limitations of how much deeper we as human beings can go, but a machine doesn't have those limitations on excavation.
So now it says, our kids there at schools have to now think out of the box and be innovative and develop technologies that can also assist in replacing some of the ordinary way of doing things into the technological aspect. And that's why even issues of coding will be important to introduce at education level. I mean, kids must now develop apps that are able to assist us to do certain things. I mean, for me to come to the SABC for the first time, if I did not know it, I would put that app and the lady will just take me through until I arrive. So those kind of things are things that we must appreciate, and our kids must even go beyond some of these things and be able to assist. I mean, currently, the way me and you learned maths and all other things, there may be smarter ways of how kids can study and become more productive. And those are the things that we must encourage now at school level. So I'm just saying, the work is enormous at education level to assist our kids and prepare them to become better and smarter people as far as technology is concerned. And I think one of the things that become critical for us is for government to make sure that even a child in a rural area has access to those technologies and have access to communication facilities that can assist them to be able to have the Wi-Fi's and everything, because not every area
you are so
is covered.
Right, because if they don't have that access, if we look at how technology is running away and growing, the digital divide will get bigger and bigger, and this chasm is going to be impossible to close. So we have to get them access.
We have to get them access. And I'm happy that if you look at how our government has now looked into the thing, I think by next year, the spectrum issues and other things, and the minister will be talking about it, Minister of Communications and DTPS, and giving our communities and the constituency the right timelines on how we think the issue of the spectrum will be dealt with and how it will be commissioned. And it's something that we all looking forward to, because with it, then it deals with quite a number of things, especially for learners at universities. Probably it will even deal with the data issues that our kids are crying about, especially because
I think with children there's never enough data.
So it's quite a number of things that will then happen. So I'm just saying, and if you look at how the MEC of Education in Gauteng is trying, and the Minister of Education are now wanting to roll out the smart classrooms and the e-learning activities for young people. It's also a step in the right direction, because that will not only improve productivity from our learners, but it will also expose them to opportunities to become innovative. So we are embracing this thing of smart classrooms and e-learning through the Department of Education with two hands. But with it, there's another unintended consequence, because now kids get free Wi-Fi at schools, and then they have these smart gadgets, but there's also a possibility that they may consume content that is not appropriate. That is not appropriate. So how do we balance that? So this is the unintended consequence that comes with it. And this is something that we must work on with our educators, with parents, with SGBs, to say, in as much as we want our kids to catch up and not be left behind in as far as technology is concerned, but be very close to the situation as parents and monitor the kind of content they consume.
Tremendous challenge, because when you've got your official channels that are being broadcast, you will have an editor that will screen the content, that makes sure it is appropriate for a particular audience.
Okay.
But if you look at what we have from a social media point of view, it's completely unfiltered. Anybody can put anything out there, whether it's true or not, and anyone can access it.
That's the thing. But that's why in South Africa you have the Film and Publication Board. And this body is responsible for classifying content that goes into the public space, whether online, whether on TV, and all those things.
And this is part of your portfolio.
It is part of my portfolio. And what we have done, I went to an activity, it was an AGM in Crete, in Greece, 2 months ago. There's a body called In Hope, similar to what the Film and Publications do. So all the bodies that deals with classification of content from all over the world come together. So in Africa, it's only South Africa that participates. So there, if you, doctor, can post something, pornography or whatever, through social media, they are able to track you. Whether you are in South Africa or you are anywhere else, they go through you and they are able to track. They even use Interpol. They are linked with Interpol. They track you, and there are consequences for you. So the call we are making even to our people is that if somebody sends you something like that, don't distribute, because in terms of the Film and Publications Act, if you are in possession, you distribute, you're guilty as charged. And the sentence is huge.
People have got a responsibility.
Exactly. So this thing of posting and doing all these things that are wrong, including reverse pornography and all other things, it's very punishable in the South African law, and the film and publications, it's monitoring. They trace it from the source, and they will get you through their technology and then be able to deal with it.
And that's one of the other important issues, that we leave behind a digital footprint. So you just follow the cookie crumbs back to the individual or individuals.
Yes.
And I don't think people are necessarily aware of the consequences of their actions and the impact that it can have.
And that's how you in cyberbullying and all those things, you have kids committing suicide and all these things. And that's why it is one of the programs I'll be embarking on, doing outreach. We have agreed with the MEC of Gauteng, outreach to schools, to start to say to learners, please don't communicate with strangers on your phone, because one of the things, and this is one of the things I learned through FPB, they are saying parents like putting their kids on Facebook or on their status to say her first day at school. Now those who are in this pedophiles and other related activities start tracking the child from her first day at school and communicate with that child until the child is 12, 13, and will say, I'm Uncle Mama, look at how I have been taking care of you. And by the time you wake up, that guy has taken your child. So we also want to discourage parents from posting their kids and doing, because some people get aroused, for lack of a better word, by just seeing kids on school uniform.